Weis Markets knows in order to provide the best customer experience, you must first focus on your employees.
What I really want to do is provide them with the tools that they need to make them the best that they can possibly be at work and make their experience at work the best that it can be.
That's Chris Chappell, Director of Learning and Development at Weis Markets. With more than 200 stores in 7 states, plus a manufacturing and logistics business, Chris and his team are focused on creating meaningful training that supports employees and ultimately provides an exceptional customer experience. Find out how next on Powered by Learning.
Powered by Learning is brought to you by DaVinci Interactive. DaVinci's approach to learning is grounded in 30 years of innovation and expertise. We use proven strategies and leading technology to develop solutions that empower learners to improve quality and boost performance. Learn more at davinci.com.
Joining us now is Chris Chappell, Director of Learning and Development at Weis Markets. It's great to see you again, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Angeline. Hey, Susan. Great seeing you again, too. It's been way too long.
I know, this is a bit of a reunion for us. We worked together like 20 years ago at DaVinci's parent company, JPL, when you were an e-learning strategist, instructional designer, and project manager for our then learning solutions department. Gosh, time flies.
Certainly does.
And one of the fun things we worked on together was a thought leadership program that included articles and a podcast called The Communications Vault back in 2005 or 6. So this is kind of a neat full circle moment.
It really feels that way to me too. I really can't believe that we're back to, listening to podcasts and using those as part of the learning experience. It's really fantastic.
It is. And we're so glad that you're a part of this podcast, Powered by Learning. So thank you for joining us today. Chris, start off by telling us a little bit about Weis Markets and your role there.
Okay, so we are a retail grocer, and we are in the market across 7 different states. We have about 23,000 associates. And what is interesting, and probably most people don't know, is that we also run our own distribution centers, our own transportation, and our own manufacturing. So we have our own meat plant, we have our own milk plant, and we have our award-winning ice cream. Most importantly.
Wow.
I vote.
I did not know that about
I vote
Weis.
for the vanilla peanut butter Weis ice cream, the premium one. It is the top.
That is excellent.
It's the tops.
Oh my goodness. I know where I'm going to go after the podcast.
Yeah, give it a try.
No, I didn't know.
Also, I have to put in a plug for our Weis by Nature organic multigrain tortillas. Absolutely fantastic.
Good to know. Well, that's a lot of people and a lot of different things that you do. Tell us about your role and what you're responsible for.
So if it has to deal with learning and development, our learning management system, or training or leadership development, even getting into organizational development as well, I'm your guy. So, we wear a lot of different hats. We have a lot of different responsibilities, and I'll just put it out there right now for 23,000. Right now, we have a team of, are you ready? 3 people.
Wow.
So how do we do that?
You do that by eating those tortilla chips and the ice cream to stay energized.
Yeah.
you know it. So it is that, and then for myself, a lot of it is about strategy. How do we properly utilize our learning and development and develop our people to be the best that they can be at work?
I have so many questions. I am not even sure where to start. So we're going to just funnel them down. So starting with big picture, just thinking about the grocery landscape and how even for consumers, grocery shopping has changed so much over the last few years. How would you describe your learning and development philosophy at Weis Markets, and how has that evolved since you've been there? Just tell me a little bit more.
Wow. Great question. So I will say that, do I follow an exact philosophy? No, but there are cues that I take from the business and some guiding principles that really direct where learning and development goes at Weis Markets. So first off, if you think about retail grocery, we're a people business. Mm-hmm. One of the first things that I noticed when I came to Weis Markets was just the friendliness of the people who work here, and the culture reflected that. So knowing that, I think we need to understand that because it is a people business and people are driven by what? Their emotions, their needs, their past experiences, their present experiences, their future ideas of what is going to happen. So we have to take that into consideration, especially with learning and development. And what I really want to do is provide them with the tools that they need to make them the best that they can possibly be at work and make their experience at work the best that it can be. So, you ask, so Chris, how do you do this? Well, you provide them with the skills that they need primarily. You provide them with a path, a career path, so that they can self-actualize and figure out, can I grow within this company? Because if they see the ability to grow and progress and be promoted, then what do? They stay and they get better and they add value to the company and add value to our customer experiences and our shareholder experiences. So those are two components. Lastly, you got to provide them with really good leadership. And that leadership provides them with everything from direction to the right resources to inspiration. And that's how we've helped to fulfill those needs, those emotional needs, those actual needs at work, so that people can have the very best experience as a Weis Market associate. So that's kind of my philosophy. Now, getting into more of the guiding principles, and stop me if I'm going on a little bit too long.
No, keep
But
going.
at least in regard to the guiding principles, I was really thinking about this the other day. And I think some of my own guiding principles are starting to bleed into the way that we conduct learning and development here at Weis Markets. So first and foremost, I am a huge believer. I am an evangelist of servant leadership. So for those who haven't heard of this before, those listening to this podcast, the best way that I can describe it is it's a form of leadership that was studied by a gentleman named Robert Greenleaf. He was an exec at AT&T, and he wrote pamphlets pretty much from the 50s up through the 80s. They've been compiled into books. People have studied him. Scholars have studied him. But what he did was not say, what is good leadership? But he researched it. He looked at the most effective leaders in history, whether that was Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, whomever. And what did they have in common? And at the very core of that was that they took care of their people and the needs of their people. And then secondly, they were servant to the mission as well. So they had a mission, they had a goal that they wanted to achieve. This shouldn't be any different in business. So we have a mission, you know what that is. So I'm, as a leader, servant to that, but primarily I'm servant to my people and providing what they need.
You do get a sense, Chris, when you're in a Weis Markets store, that there is this sense of camaraderie, of pride in the brand, certainly pride in what the stores do in the communities you serve. I mean, helping feed the needy, for example, is a big mission, objective of Weis Markets. I mean, it does seem like your training and development, your learning and development rolls up into that very much, and building that, extending that culture that you talked about.
And we can talk all day about that. And it's absolutely true. And even as part of our mission statement, the very last part of it is about the communities that we serve. And I think within the organization, as an associate, we're starting to build that up even stronger through collaboration, through working together across departments that were once siloed, and really looking for opportunities to do that. In addition, my personal opinion, I think it's a competitive advantage over a lot of other retail grocers that we are in our communities. We know our communities. We give back. I think we can do more with this. And I think we can do more with this through the learning and development branch, and really providing ideas, different direction on how individual stores and store management teams and the associates within those stores can give back to their communities in a coordinated way.
Mm-hmm. Chris, before you even brought up servant leadership, as you were answering that question about the philosophy of Wise, I was thinking, man, he really just puts a lot of heart into what he does. And it reminded me of servant leadership. So I can see how much how much you embody that already. It definitely is evident. And I agree. I think that is a really meaningful and feels right kind of leadership style as I've studied different approaches more. And I understand you've built out a pretty deep leadership development journey, not just for store managers, but across all levels at Wise. Could you walk me through what that looks like, how it might be
Oh, wow.
structured, support growth? So hopefully I didn't open a big can of worms, but I'd love to just hear more about it.
So I'm a big believer that leadership matters. And well, I'll take it as probably the best compliment I've had in a long time, because one of my other beliefs is that you have to role model leadership. Otherwise, it's inauthentic and
Mhm.
people just don't believe. And if they don't believe, they
Yeah.
will not follow because they do not trust. So with that said, and me off my soapbox, what I will say is that when I got to Weis Markets, we had a couple of leadership resources. So we had a program called Emerging Leaders. It was kind of relegated to only one area of the business and was fairly small, fairly limited. There's a couple of workshops and I think biweekly phone calls. In addition to that, we had some assessment in regard to Corn Ferry's 360. Since that time, what our mission has been within the department was to really roll out leadership development to what we call our 5 levels of leadership. And primarily those are within our store ops division. However, it extends to our other areas, whether it's the distribution, transportation, manufacturing, or our store support center, which is our corporate offices. So not everything is built out yet. However, we've increased participation. I believe it's by 117% since
Wow.
the beginning. Our engagement, or what we call associate opinion survey scores regarding leadership, have steadily increased over the past 2 years. Turnover has gone down over the past 2 years. I'm not saying that it's all attributed to the leadership programs, but I think a large part of it is because when we have good leaders and leaders who are held accountable to their own behavior and that there is a set standard of that behavior, then people want to stay. So that particular program was built primarily for our store manager level, our director level, and we've moved in both directions. So we've developed another program called our Level Up Leadership Program for our district managers, our regional operations specialists, as well as some of our HR support staff who work with them on a regular basis. A lot of that is highly experiential and involves a lot of practice and feedback loops. So that's kind of an interesting one. We also push down, we have an ASM or assistant store manager program. We have a HIPO for that as well, which is another program. So we keep developing out the different levels, knowing that you should not have poor leadership at Wise Market at any level. And we want to be able to coordinate so that each level builds upon the next and is assessed. I think that's probably the other really important part here, is that we are measurement and metric focused,
Mm-hmm.
just to make sure that things are going well, tell us whether we're doing a good job at providing the training that's necessary and the development, but then also holding people accountable or leaders accountable to what they need to be accountable for.
It sounds like it's making a pretty big impact. I mean, those are some really good metrics you shared there. I know you said they couldn't be directly attributed, but it's
Yeah.
clear. Yeah.
I mean, for instance, in retail, we have, and this may sound bad for some different verticals, but in retail, we probably have a turnover rate that's about 20, 25 percentage points lower than the industry average. And
Wow.
within distribution and transportation, it's even greater.
And I would think, Chris, part of that has to be not just the training and development for the leadership, which trickles down and, of course, makes the experience better for the average team member, but the training that you're offering your team members to make sure they're prepared. That's got to go a long way.
And I absolutely love my team. So it's been a privilege to me to watch them grow and learn and progress in their careers. And in fact, two of the leadership programs that we developed over the past year and a half were part of their development journey. So it all started off with me teaching them how to manage a project and how to program manage. And as part of that, they're practical. They had to develop out a program, run it through the entire project of developing it and getting it implemented, and then implement it. And now we're in a cycle of continuous improvement, going back to guiding philosophies, Kaizen, and knowing that no project, no program is ever done. It's in a constant iterative state of improvement.
I love that. And I love to hear that they're also developing themselves. I feel like oftentimes, you talk to L&D professionals and we neglect ourselves
We do.
because we're so busy developing programs for others. And you got to do that self-care, right?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
literally over the course of, I would say about 3 months, and almost every day for like an hour, I would teach them one part of either project management or program management. They would, it again, going back to the word iteratively, build their program to the point where it was ready for implementation and rollout. And now we have these great programs that get great feedback. And even better than that, the self-actualization that I see from my staff, from my associates, is so rewarding to see them grow as individuals within their career, and just knowing that I could step out of my role at any second and I know this department would run well.
That's a great feeling to have built that up.
It really is.
So, talking about the programs, we always want hearing you speak. I'm sure a lot of your training programs are focused more around creating that feeling so that folks, it's more behavior based, right? How do you get employees at all different levels to apply what they're learning? What sort of approaches are you using? How do you make it happen at Weis?
So I will speak to my favorite. I love feedback loops with forced homework and accountability. So a lot of people look at accountability as I have to hold people accountable. I don't want to do that. I want to create a situation where people hold themselves accountable. So in a lot of my different programs that I develop and what my team develops, what we'll do is we will obviously develop homework assignments for people to then take back into their work world that is highly integrated into it. So it is woven throughout. So for instance, in the Level Up program. So again, that's the one for DMs and ROSs. Let's say it was a training on accountability. They would work with one of their stores that may need a little bit more help. They would apply the techniques that were learned in that particular training. They would journal about it in a well-structured journal, answer questions about it, and then know that at the beginning of the next session, they would be reporting out on it with not only myself and my staff there, but their boss there, their peers. So there's a bit of wanting to look your best.
Yeah.
By demonstrating not only did I learn these techniques, but I applied them and here were the results.
And Chris, you also have programs in place to help associates kind of on the job as they're in the job, and to make sure that if you're a bakery worker one day, but you need to fill in produce, you've got what you need to set yourself up for success. Talk about that so that
Yes.
people understand how you're helping with that kind of learning and development.
So the one thing that you can understand is that if people don't feel comfortable performing the tasks that they're asked to perform, they're not going to want to perform said tasks. So if we hire someone into the bakery, and we need to move them to the deli to fill in, due to call offs or for whatever reason. It's not the most popular thing in the world.
To be transferred to another department.
To be transferred to another
Yeah.
department. It's very uncomfortable.
Well, because you're familiar with what you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think about myself, if I was told, hey, we don't have enough people in finance today.
They don't want any of us in finance, by the way.
No, it would be a really poor decision. But if I had the resources to at least perform rudimentary tasks, so let's say I get thrown into finance, what's the first 3 things that I can do? And this is where a program comes in that we call Snapshot. And basically, this is video microlearning. Just think TikTok for corporate America. And it was a program that was sort of dabbled in before I got here. And our senior vice president of operations, he basically handed it to me and said, make this successful. So what we did was, first off, is find its purpose. So before it was just these videos, how to, and not very well integrated throughout our other processes for a particular department. So what we did was we realized that, hey, you know what? This would probably work really well for cross training, especially to deal with those call offs. So one of the major business problems that we have, that a lot of places have, is that we have people not showing up for work. So that puts incredible stress on those who do show up. Obviously, we need to serve our customers and do it in the best way possible. And that takes knowledgeable people. So what we did, again, was repurpose it so that these videos would be for specific areas, for specific tasks, starting off with those which were, again, the most rudimentary, those that most people would learn on day one, or in some cases, those that were most important, like making Weis Markets chicken salad. So we have these videos. How do we get them out to people? So before, we were having some technical issues. So we worked and collaborated with our IT department. We worked with our folks in store ops to figure out what was the most optimal way of doing this. We still aren't quite there. We still want something a little bit better, and we believe our new LMS is going to provide that. But what we did do was also integrate these videos into our SOPs. So our SOPs have a QR code on them so that you can simply grab the SOP, which is in the department to begin with. You can read through that to get an idea of, how you perform a said task. And then if you want to see how it's done, you snap it with your phone or with one of the iPads that are within the department, and you can watch it. So we've communicated this process out. We worked with department managers, store managers, assistant store managers to know that this was the process now for cross-training folks in the moment. So it's also just-in-time training if you think about it. So that was one of the more innovative ways that we teach skills to our frontline associates.
I love it. I mean, video transcends all age groups and learning styles. Everyone's used to digesting content in video, so it's a very approachable way to learn something when you're already doing something that's very uncomfortable, like switching your department.
Especially, if you need sort of the quick download on what do I need to do today.
Yes.
You don't want to read a 5-page PDF.
No.
Give me the highlights,
Yes,
we don't have time for that.
No. So I'm dying to know, you said you have 3 team members in your department.
Actually, I would be one of those 3. So.
Oh my goodness. So you have 3 total.
Yes.
And you train a massive number of employees across your entire organization. How do you do it? How do you decide what gets built, what gets updated? Do you do in-person? Talk to me about logistics here.
First of all, we rely on the goodwill of others. So we do have some people in the training realm, either as a full-time job or a part-time job in other departments. So I don't mean part-time, but in that
Their focus
it's
is
not
part-time for, yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So part of my strategy as well is to find more of these people, and not only as subject matter experts in helping develop out the content, but also in presenting it because they are the experts. So I see this as a great opportunity. It's sort of like if you think about the Army and why the American Army works so well, a lot of it is because of our non commissioned officers. So we have the generals and the commissioned officers at the top. They're figuring out strategy and all of that. But when you need a decision made in battle, in the moment, it's that non commissioned officer who's doing so. And they have the freedom and the autonomy to make those decisions. And they're prepared for it as well. So this is sort of the model that I'm trying to roll out even more so at Weis Markets. So up to the point where I joined, I would say our training was very decentralized. Other than the LMS, people in other departments were providing training. Sometimes it was coordinated through L&D, sometimes not. What we're trying to do is really centralize the content, centralize the resources, prepare others to be great trainers,
Mm-hmm.
but then give them the autonomy and authority to go out and train what they need to train. Because obviously we can't do everything. We'll take care of the leadership development for the most part, but for the day-to-day skill transfer, we're going to have to rely on other people. And whether that's in finance or transportation or manufacturing or wherever it may be. So that's part of the answer.
Okay.
The next
That
part of
makes
the
that's
answer,
going to help me sleep a little better tonight because I was worried about you guys.
yeah. The next part of the answer is I'm going to use a phrase that our SVP of IT uses, and it's ruthless prioritization.
I like
You
So,
that.
have to do that.
oh, you have to.
Yeah.
If it does not support the mission, support strategy, support the core operations of the business, or is a compliance issue, it's put to the back burner. It has to be. So we really want to focus on those things that provide the most value. And again, if it is supporting mission, vision, values, strategy, we know that it's going to. Beyond that, I will say that our core business does take precedent, and they really, we will give them what they need because obviously that's where our revenue is derived from and where our interactions with our customers occur because we want those customer experiences to be the best that they can be.
You told Angeline and me before we started recording today that you have quite a large catalog of e-learnings. Talk a little bit about that and kind of maybe what's in store with your very massive collection.
Okay, so Susan, you're giving me a little bit of anxiety.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. So we are currently implementing a new LMS. So we've gone with Workday Learning, and we are still working towards that. We've run into some other constraints in regard to delivery. So this has become a primary concern. So with saying that, we started off with well over, I think it was 1,798 courses in our catalog. Now that also included on-the-job checklists, but still quite a few courses. Through this process and working and collaborating with our different business partners throughout the organization, we whittled it down to 800 and
Wow.
change. From there, we found that there were certain, again, going back to the constraints on the way that the courses were delivered, especially in our store ops, that we had to confront. So while we did our best in the past to make sure that these played on different devices, none of them were really optimized for cell phone delivery. That has become a new constraint. So now we're looking at how fast can we redevelop roughly about, I think we were right around 120 some courses, not job aids. This was just pure courses as quickly as possible. Now, luckily, our IT folks, they've helped out a bit with some different tablets in the stores, so we will probably be able to reduce that, but we're still going to be redeveloping a sizable amount of our content, and ultimately all of it, so that it can be delivered on mobile. So getting your arms around that, even the 800 is sizable. But again, I'm going back to the need to collaborate. It's something that we teach throughout our leadership programs. We have practice where I hate to use the word force, but as part of the assignments, we make people collaborate together. We teach people, our leaders, about different areas of the business so that they understand how we function as a system. Now I have to apply my own teachings to myself and look for ways to collaborate with the other departments, the other stakeholders who own the information, and start to roll all of this into a well-organized catalog of learning so that we can regularly update, we can get rid of stuff that we don't need, make sure that we're in compliance with the latest regulations. There's a lot to it, but we need to be better organized. And I think our new LMS will help us, as well as some new processes.
Sounds like you need to eat that elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Chris, looking ahead, what excites you most about the future of learning at Weis Markets?
Well, I have about 100 things to go through. I won't. So if I think about it, part of it starts with reimagining our associates' work lives, and really, how do we make that better through both learning and development, as well as organizational development. I think it's my purpose in life to do this. So it's easy for me to bring that to an organization and say, how do we make our associates work better for them? Second up, I want to normalize collaboration. Every organization that I've worked in since JPL has been very siloed. And I like to think about how we worked at JPL across the different divisions to come up with a singular product that was amazing. It's my goal to bring that to every organization that I've ever belonged to. It's also important for me to do that here, because I see not only the benefits of what it does for a company, but the joy that it brings to the people who are collaborating. And there was a recent study, and I'm trying to remember who put it out, and I think it may have been Gartner. But anyway, it showed just that thing, that people who collaborate in their work are so much happier in their work than those who do not. So I see it as an opportunity to really improve engagement. And then I think the last thing I'll just bring up is, just pulling together and centralizing things regarding learning at Weis Markets, but then giving our associates and our leaders the autonomy to run with it. So that excites me. And in really creating this, and I know I brought this up before in the interview, but creating this culture of accountability where I am accountable and responsible for what I do, the people that I lead, the customers that I serve. And if I do that, I've done my job.
Well, you're definitely empowering people to love learning and be a part of your process. And Weis Markets is very lucky to have you, Chris.
Thank you, Susan. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you.
My thanks to DaVinci Client Solutions consultant Angeline Evans and our guest, Chris Chappell from Weis Markets, for joining us today. If you have a suggestion for a topic or a guest, please reach out to us at poweredbylearning@davinci.com. And don't forget that you can subscribe to Powered by Learning wherever you listen to your podcasts.